Hi, fourth grade. It's windy out here, but I'm out back in my backyard, and I just wanted to come out here and show you a little bit of the woods behind my house. We actually don't own any of this land very far back, but something kind of cool that happened when we first all started to have to stay home was that our neighbors came over, and Mr. Redmond helped them clear some trees, and they came through the backyard a little bit further up the road, and they cleared out a hiking trail on their land that's about a half a mile long, and they talked to my husband, and we actually extended the trail all the way down here to our backyard. So it's been really nice because, we're able to get up and just walk out back and just hike here. And that's been a real blessing and something that I've really been super thankful for, that it was just so generous and kind of them to do that and share their great big backyard with us. So I'm thinking maybe next week we could go on a hike together out in the woods out back, and maybe I can show you a little bit of what it looks like a little bit further in the woods behind my house. All right, let's talk a little bit about our Bible lesson this week. So lesson 27, we were talking about the Good Samaritan a couple days ago. And I had asked you a few days ago what you think, why you think the first two men passed the Good Samaritan by and really left him there for dead and in the road, as the paper said, he left him there to die. And I said, sometimes that's maybe the same reason why we're not maybe so quick to help other people. I don't know that we would necessarily leave someone to die on the road, but it did happen in this story. And the answers that we probably could have thought of was maybe they were in a hurry, or they didn't want to be bothered, or they were only concerned about themselves. And I know for me, that's been true. I don't like to admit that, but there have been times in my life when I've been more focused on myself, that I haven't been able to help meet the need of somebody else, maybe in a way that God would have wanted me to, right? And so I just really love that story, and the fact that the Samaritan was the least expected person to help in that situation. And I know that's something that can be an encouragement to us, right? That as Christians, we get to be the least expected person to come onto the scene and be a helper and be a light, because we love God and we want to serve other people. And so that should be a real encouragement to us. And then at the bottom, our Bible verses in Proverbs of that page: a friend loves at all times. In Luke, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. We talked about that in our lesson a couple weeks ago. And then in Mark, I should love others as I love myself. Okay. And then in the next page, I did provide the answer key to that. Some of the questions were a little bit more obvious than others, but really what it was trying to get you to see was kind of like a modern day example of what that's like in our own life, right? Where Tom is so worried what everyone thinks of him and so focused on himself, but Mike is more focused on asking God, how can I help today? Who can I help today? So hope you were able to work through that page and just kind of be thinking about the differences between the two boys, and maybe how that affects their relationship when you're thinking of yourself all the time versus thinking of other people. Okay, so tomorrow we'll talk about our Building Castles book in our Friday Zoom, and I am going to record that for those of us who can't be there. Let's move on to history. We're going to be reading on page 101 through 105 for the next 2 days, today and tomorrow. And this first part of the chapter, which is called The American War for Independence, so we're going to be coming into the American Revolution right now, which I had sent you a brain pop about yesterday. And this first part, though, is talking about the first 10 or so years after the French and Indian War, and the relationship that the King of England had with the American colonists, that promises that he made to them, how he might have broken those promises over time, and how the American colonists began to feel that they were being treated unfairly, or that they were being treated differently than the people of England. It talks about something called a Stamp Act, which wasn't actually a stamp, but was more of a seal that you put on a letter, and how that was taxed. And taxes are money that people pay to help their government. And so what are the American colonists supposed to do when England starts to tax their products and the things that they make, and tell them about who they can trade with? And then what happens when they start to tax the tea? And eventually, over time, this really becomes a big problem. And so that's what this chapter is really about. Just the events, the tension, the broken promises between the King of England and the American colonists that eventually lead up to the actual war. So go ahead and read over those pages 101 through 105, and you're going to do the comprehension check 10A, and I gave you the answers. So you should be okay with that for the next day or two, okay? All right, so finally, we are going to be talking about language today on page 261, and we're talking about parts of speech. So we have making proper nouns, common nouns. So you're taking the taking the common nouns and making them proper nouns, okay? And then you're going to just think of an actual name. That's what a proper noun is, right? To replace the common noun. So let's just go to number 4, for example. So if the common noun is street, maybe you could just write the name of the street that you live on, and that would be a proper noun because it's the name. And of course, we know that proper nouns have capital letters. And then you're also going to do think B, talking about making our words plural, going back to our rules about plural words. Remember, if a word ends in CH, you would put an ES on the end, right? And there are some words that actually change. So for example, mouse, the plural form of mouse is not mouses. It's another word. What word would that be? Woman is not womans. Okay? What word would that be? All right. Also, what letter would you change in the word knife before you add an S to make it plural? So kind of just going back and reviewing our rules about plural nouns, how to make a singular noun a plural noun. So hopefully you won't have too much trouble with that. And I do have a really fun science video for you guys today. Please watch that science story. It's a short little read-along story, but it's read to you from an astronaut in space, and she just shows you a lot of cool things about what she gets to do inside of where she is living in her little space area. So it's just a lot of fun, and I hope you'll take the time to watch that video. And I'm really excited to be talking to you about astronomy and outer space, and we'll actually be kicking that off next week, okay? Okay, well, I think that's it. If you have any questions, you can always email me, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Friday Zoom. If you can't be there, we sure will miss you, but I'm going to be sure to record the Zoom video so that you can watch it later and get to see everyone, okay? All right, guys, I hope you're taking good care of yourselves and you're getting outside to play when you can, and I'll see you tomorrow live. Bye.